Nicholson here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Nicholson. I'm your host, and on this show we're going to be breaking down all of the day's movie news and kind of giving a little bit of insight into what it all means to the production in general, such as casting decisions, director announcements, trailer announcements, things like that. So without any further ado, let's get into today's topics. So the first topic we got to talk about today, Jon Favreau, the director of such films as Iron Man, Iron Man 2, and movies, such smaller films like Made or Swingers, has actually just premiered his latest film called Chef. It's another kind of independent film. He's been looking for a long time to get back into that. He's been delving into the big budget movies for a long time. He's done Iron Man, Iron Man 2, and then he did Cowboys and Aliens. And so a lot of people thought that he was the front runner to direct the Avengers, but he's taken a little bit of time off, and he's actually struck up a really good working relationship with Disney. So the first movie that he's going to be making under this partnership with Disney is a retelling of the classic The Jungle Book. I'm actually really excited to see this, only because there are two competing Jungle Book movies that are being made right now. Jon Favreau has got his movie set up at Disney. We've already got the first casting announcement for that movie as well. Idris Elba, who some of you may know as Heimdall in the Thor series, has just been cast as the voice of Shere Khan, the Bengal tiger. Now, what Jon Favreau has stated with this movie is that his intent is to make it a combination of modern-day CGI and live action. So the snake, the tiger, most likely the bear, they will all be CG, and then Mowgli and the surrounding environments will be live action, which is kind of cool. They tried to do that several years ago, back in the 90s with Sam Neill. Sam Neill, he wasn't really one of the main characters in the original story, but it was Mowgli as a grown man, still living in the wood, or still living in the jungle, and it was very odd to put it bluntly. But when rewatching it again, it's weird to see because none of the animals actually talk. So you just get the bear who just roars and growls, you get the tiger who roars and growls, you get the snake who slithers around, but none of them talk, and it's just this crazy guy talking to these animals. So it'll be really interesting to see his take on this project, especially considering the fact that they are going CG with the animals, which means they're most likely going to talk, especially considering they just got Idris Elba, a world-class actor, who I believe, and a lot of other people believe online right now, would be a great choice if they ended up recasting James Bond. If they were to do that right now, he would be a great choice. But they're not going to be doing that for several years, so he's not going to be the new Bond. But it is great to hear his voice and his gravitas come through in a character like Shere Khan. I think there's going to be similarities to Scar and The Lion King. I guarantee you when this movie comes out, they're going to be comparing those two characters because they, from what I can see here, from the aspect that he's going for, I can see them being very similar type of characters, sounding very similar, same type of motivation, stuff like that. So it's going to be really cool to see when we get a little bit more information about this. So next topic today is revolving around the new adaptation of the classical story of Noah. So as most of you know, Darren Aronofsky has directed a new retelling of the classic story of Noah, which is coming out at the end of March. Paramount is the studio that backed him, and Darren Aronofsky is known for having creative control on his projects. He controls everything from the what is shown in the marketing to how the marketing is portrayed to final cut of the movie and so on and so forth. This, however, is one of his first big big budget feature films. He did one a while ago called The Fountain with Hugh Jackman, and that one was a travesty, not due to the fact that the film was bad. The film was actually quite good, but you could tell the studio influence on that movie, and he really didn't like that, and that's why he hasn't gone back to a movie like that until now. And with Noah, the size and scope of this movie means that he needs to have a studio support. So he needed to go to a studio to get this movie made. But the main thing that's happening now, and this is just mere weeks before the movie's coming out, is Paramount. Now these reports are not confirmed. We haven't heard officially from either side yet whether or not these are actually happening, but there are a lot of reputable sources who are running with this story. And it's that Paramount has gone behind Aronofsky's back and have actually changed portions of the film, and they are also changing the marketing campaign of the movie to appeal more to religious viewers of this, who they want from this movie. Originally, Aronofsky said he wants it to be for everybody. He's going to put things in there for religious people, for non-religious people, and for people kind of in the middle. So I don't know how much I would believe this, because I can't see a studio like Paramount risking this information actually leaking out that they've done this. If it was Fox, I wouldn't put it past them. Fox is known for doing stuff like that. But Paramount usually has a really well-built reputation, which goes against things like this. Now, I know at the end of the day, they're all major studios. They are all going to have black sheep who work for them. But just reading up on this a little bit, it's really kind of weird to see. Like they've now put a disclaimer at the beginning of the film which states that inspired by the events of Noah. Not to say that they're actually retelling it, but a lot of people get this confused. This movie is based off of a graphic novel that Aronofsky himself has made. Like, he made this graphic novel, or he co-wrote and created this graphic novel that this story is based off of, and originally wanted Christian Bale to play the role, but for all intents and purposes, he ended up getting Russell Crowe. But there's a lot of aspects to this story that are taken not just from the Bible, but from other mythological retellings of this story. So Paramount coming out and trying to appease just the Christian viewers is almost insulting to everybody else, because they're trying to set this up to be another Passion of the Christ, movie that has so much controversy behind it, but yet so many people go out and see it and revere the movie for what it really is. I mean, knowing Aronofsky's past work, I have no doubt that this movie is going to be great. It's going to be compelling. It's not going to be your standard epic fare. There's going to be a lot more nuances to this movie. That's just his flavor and what he does. He's not a standard filmmaker in that sense. So it's going to be really, really cool to see what he's able to actually do with this. But I don't really know how to take this information, you know? I mean, at one point I want to say, well, yes, Aronofsky, at the end of the day, even though he made one amazing film not last year, the year before, with Black Swan, which got him on the studio's radar, but he's always made controversial movies. He's always made movies that the mainstream wouldn't necessarily enjoy. And so I feel that Paramount should not have given him complete creative control. I don't feel that anybody should. Whenever that happens, you get a Star Wars prequel. So you essentially have no one to say no to. No one is going to say no to any of your ideas. You're going to come up and say, well, we want to do this. And they're going to go, absolutely, boss, that sounds awesome. You're not having anybody say no to you, and you run into George Lucas' situation with the Star Wars prequels. I've gone on this before, so I won't do it again. But he needs to have someone to say, okay, hold on a sec. Rethink this, come back to us with it rethought, and then we'll go from there. So if it was the case where they gave him complete control and then went back on it, it's likely, but I can't see a company like Paramount doing that. But I also can't see Paramount investing $130 million plus their marketing campaign to a man who has never directed a movie of that size and scale before. And giving him complete creative control. They haven't done that with Mark Webb, with the Spider-Man movies. He has a lot of control, but he doesn't have final say. And then you look at James Gunn with Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, another guy coming from pretty much independent movies, coming to a big tentpole summer movie. The studio is going to say, we want this, we want to beat here, and then you can work everything else around that. You can work your style into that. But they'll never give them final say. So it's interesting that they actually did that. So we only got a couple of weeks till the movie comes out. I'm looking forward to it only in the sense that some of the things that I've heard that we haven't been shown yet sound really intriguing about it, especially the angelic characters that we may be seeing in the movie. So it's got a whole otherworldly feel to it. So it's going to be cool to see when the movie actually does finally come out. So next topic here, Chris Hemsworth, as obviously you know as Thor, recently just did an interview where he spoke about Age of Ultron, the new Avengers movie. Now, he said that he's read the script, and he doesn't actually start shooting for another 2 months. So this may be another situation, just like in the first Avengers movie, where Thor doesn't show up for like a half an hour to 35, 40 minutes into the movie. If that's the case, I mean, you got to remember, not only are all the core characters from the original Avengers coming back, we have Vision being a new character introduced, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver being introduced, we have Ultron being introduced. So right there are 4 major new characters being tacked on top of all the original returning characters. So him not coming in for 2 months now, he did say he starts in about 2 months in London, and he's going to be there for about 4 months. So it looks as though they're going to, yeah, it looks as though they're going to be treating him the same way that they did in the first one. But he did go on to say that he's really excited about the movie because everything in this movie has been ramped up. It's more exciting and even crazier than the first one. So, I mean, only time will tell. It's first off, it's Marvel's culmination of their Phase 2, so you know it's going to be big. It's the next Avengers movie, so you know it's going to be crazy. And the eclectic cast that they have involved in this movie is just unbelievable. Like, I am so excited for this movie. The only problem is, though, is I feel that this may be a kind of a Transformers 2 situation, not due to the lack of script development, but one of the main reasons the first one works so well, outside of just the great character development, was it was the first time that we were seeing all these characters on screen. The first time that we were seeing them all interact with one another. And I think that was one of the reasons why it was so entertaining. Going back to the second one, I don't know if they're going to be able to recapture that. Just like in the second Transformers movie, they were never able to recapture the nostalgia effect that they had in the first one, or the fact that anytime a robot transformed, it was awe-inspiring. And then in the second one, they just, oh, we're just transforming. So I mean, they just threw that aside, and I hope they don't do that with this one. And I feel that they won't, just because of the creative team that they have behind them. So only time will tell. We got another year or so to wait until the movie comes out, but I'm anticipating that in the summer we're going to see the first footage from it. So here's hoping. And the last bit of news today, Evan Goldberg, who most of you probably don't know, but he is Seth Rogen's writing partner and directing partner. He's actually gone on record and revealed because he co-wrote with Seth Rogen his new movie called Neighbors, starring Zac Efron and Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, which will be coming out I believe in the summer. It might even be in April. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to double check on that. But he just did an interview because they just premiered the movie at South by Southwest, the film festival, which also premiered Chef, Jon Favreau's new movie. And so in an interview, he talked about this new movie that he's got coming out, their next directorial movie. They did This Is the End last year, which was the funniest movie of the year, if not... I don't even know if there is another movie that came out last year that was funnier. I just felt it was so hilarious. Every note hit, every beat hit, everything just worked. It was hilarious. And so their follow-up movie is called The Interview, and it stars James Franco and Seth Rogen. And James Franco plays a Ryan Seacrest type, but as Evan Goldberg explains it, he says instead of being a super talented, working really hard type of guy, he's a moron. And so his character and Seth Rogen's character, who's the producer of his show, they travel to North Korea to do an interview with Kim Jong-un. But they end up either on the way or once they get there, they end up getting wrapped up in an assassination or in a CIA assassination plot to assassinate the dictator. And obviously, hilarity ensues. So I think this is going to be absolutely hysterical. By the sounds of it, it looks like it could potentially be an action comedy similar to Pineapple Express, because we know that these guys wrote Pineapple Express. I believe that was the first movie that they did. Oh, no, sorry, Superbad was the first movie they did, and then Pineapple Express they did after that. But this sounds absolutely hilarious, and this is right in their wheelhouse. Everything that I'm hearing so far about Neighbors sounds like it's going to be a really funny movie. They said it doesn't rewrite anything. It doesn't really change anything, and it's kind of predictable. But it's just laugh from beginning to end, which is what a comedy is supposed to be. I hate when critics come out and they say, "Well, the characters never grew," which actually in one of the reviews of Neighbors that I read stated, they said that there were no characters that really changed, and that took them out of the movie. And to me, it's a comedy. It's meant to make you laugh. It's not meant to pull at your heartstrings. It's not meant to make you think. It's meant to make you laugh. And I wish that there were some people out there that could just take those movies for what they are. But I'm kind of getting off topic here. So going back to The Interview. Again, I think this movie is going to be absolutely hilarious. These guys are on a roll. They've also just lined up to do a Preacher miniseries event on AMC, which I think is phenomenal, and that's outside their wheelhouse, so I'm really intrigued to start seeing some stuff about that. But the one I'm really excited for is the new movie coming out called Console Wars, which they're going to be developing once they get finished with Preacher, so we still got a few more years left. But It is basically about the massive battle between Nintendo and Sega around the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s. And their real console wars, because Sony was doing specific attacks in their advertisements at Nintendo, and so there was a book written, and these guys have optioned the book, and now they're going to be writing the script and going from there. And that, I think, has a lot of promise. But out of all of them, I'm really excited to see the interview. I think that has the most promise. Well, that'll about do it for us today here on Coming Soon Movie News with Nicholson. Don't forget to click the subscribe button down at the bottom of the page, and also remember to follow me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Nicholson, Niklsun. And make sure you follow me, just because anytime movie news does come out, I will be tweeting about it, and I will be updating my page about that, and then also trying to get as much of that information on the next episode as I possibly can. So, without any further ado, you guys have been great. Thanks for watching, and you have yourselves a great day.